Good afternoon, everyone. It's August 2nd, 2019. How's everyone doing? It's been, a week or something like that since my last video. I try to get them in where I can now. Life has gotten to be very, very hectic for me. But today we're going to talk about whether or not we could say a type of Gestapo, or if you will, a Fourth Reich, has risen within the United States deep state. And I have my 3 articles up here that supports such a notion. The first one is going to come from John Whitehead of the Rutherford Institute over here at shtfplan.com. The rise of the American Gestapo. And he poses the question, has it already happened here? This was posted yesterday, by the way. How's everyone doing? I hope everyone has been doing very, very well. Moving and getting ready for the school year, especially when you homeschool. It's a little more than going out and buying school supplies. I got to buy 2 new computers and among a bunch of other stuff. So I'm having to work more hours to be able to do these things. I hope everyone has been doing well since the last time any of you have commented or we chatted. Adolf Hitler, at least Paul Craig Roberts claims. Adolf Hitler is alive and well in the United States, and he is fast rising to power. Paul Craig Roberts, former Assistant Secretary of the Treasury, on the danger posed by the FBI to our civil liberties. And of course, we really don't have much in the way of civil liberties left. They've been incrementally stolen from us by people who actually believe they have the right to do so. Despite finger pointing and outcries of dismay from those who are watching the government discard the rule of law at every turn, the question is not whether Donald Trump is the new Adolf Hitler, which he's not. Okay, he's not. He is an idiot, but he's no Adolf Hitler. But whether the American police state is the new Third Reich or the Fourth Reich. Now, if you can view the present and past political landscape without partisan blinders, the warning signs are unmistakable. The deep state's love affair with totalitarianism began a very long time ago, and they've been slowly but surely ratcheting up that totalitarianism. Many people have warned about this, and it's here. It's here. I mean, think about it. You have to have a license for everything. Excessive taxes, debasement of currency. And I can go on and on and on. Everything is a crime, you know. I mean, hell, just recently, this guy got in trouble for selling fucking bottled water, for crying out loud. And people get in trouble for the dumbest things nowadays. It's just unbelievable. So, you know, it is totalitarian, and the more rules, regulations, laws, among other dictates we get from these people, the more totalitarian it is, and the more our shackles are shortened. So the U.S. government is so admired the Nazi regime that Following the Second World War, and probably all you know this, it secretly recruited Hitler's employees, adopted his protocols, embraced his mindset about law and order, implemented his tactics in incremental steps, and began to lay the foundations for the rise of the Fourth Reich. And if you think it sounds far-fetched, allow me to continue. Historian Robert, Gillespie recounts after 5 years of Hitler's dictatorship, the Nazi police had won the FBI's seal of approval. The Nazi police state was initially so admired for its efficiencies and order by the world powers of the day that J. Edgar Hoover, then head of the FBI, actually sent one of his right-hand men, Edmund Patrick Coffee, to Berlin in January of 1938 at the invitation of Germany's secret police, the Gestapo. The FBI was so impressed with the Nazi regime that, according to the New York Times, in the decades after World War II, the FBI, along with other government agencies, aggressively recruited at least 1,000 Nazis, including some of Hitler's highest ranking people. They called them, or Whitehead called them henchmen, but I guess that's what they were. But, you know, they were following orders, right? Thousands of Nazi collaborators, including the head of a Nazi concentration camp, along with others, were given secret visas and brought to the United States, and that, you know, by Project Paperclip. And again, I'm sure most of you know about this, but it does bear worth repeating because it does show the building of this Gestapo apparatus. And there's a couple more articles here that will back all of this up here. So bear with me. Stay with me. Don't go anywhere. So these people some of them were hired as rocket scientists, but a lot of them were also hired as spies and informants and camouflage to ensure their true identities and ties to Hitler's Holocaust machine would remain unknown. Of course, there is question about the Holocaust, in my opinion. All the while, thousands of Jewish refugees were refused entry visas to the United States. So, and to add more insult to the injury, American taxpayers had been paying to keep these ex-Nazis on the U.S. government's payroll ever since. A lot of these guys certainly have to be dead by now, though. And if all of that wasn't enough, the U.S. government agencies, the FBI, CIA, the military, have fully embraced many of the Nazis' well-honed policing tactics and have used them repeatedly against American citizens. And with every passing day, the government borrows yet another leaf from Nazi Germany's playbook. Secret police, secret courts, secret government agencies, and there's secret courts, there's secret prisons, surveillance, censorship, intimidation, harassment, torture, brutality, widespread corruption, entrapment, indoctrination, indefinite detention, and the list could go on and on and on beyond that. And these are not the tactics that a true constitutional republic, where the so-called rule of law, and the rights of the people reign supreme. Rather, they are the hallmarks of authoritarian regimes, where the only law that counts comes from the form of heavy-handed, unilateral dictates from a supreme ruler who uses a secret police to control the population. And according to Mr. Whitehead, the FBI would be part of this, if not flat out accusing them of being this Gestapo. And I would also include your local departments in that description too. I mean, come on. It's not just the FBI. But they do have a long list of crimes against the American people, and it includes surveillance, disinformation, blackmail, entrapment, intimidation tactics, harassment, and so on and so forth. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. So let's see here. Just like the Gestapo, the FBI has vast resources, vast investigatory powers, and vast discretion to determine who is an enemy of the state. And if you are a person who points out these crimes by the FBI, guess who gets put on a list and sometimes harassed for those activities? So let's go over here. Now, Hitler's Nazi Germany or Gestapo secret police would have loved to have this capability. And believe me when I tell you, they would have utilized this in a second. There would have been no debate, and I doubt there was very much in the way of debate here. But mass surveillance, 1 in 2 Americans are already in a government facial recognition database. Yes, you are. And a lot of us have been put on lists to be rounded up. And I covered this in a previous video. And this is one of the ways they, gather the intelligence on you to determine whether or not your threat matrix score justifies your termination. Remember, they feed all the variables about you into a quantum computer, and the computer gives them some sort of statistic or probability of whether or not you're a threat, and that puts you somewhere on a list. But I digress. But the mass surveillance of innocent Americans continues as George Orwell's 1984 becomes more of a reality with each passing day. We are barreling toward a future where every ritual of public life carries implicit consent to be surveilled, writes Sidney Fussell for The Atlantic. A new report from Georgetown Law's Center on Privacy and Technology, or CPT, suggests that Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, may be using the rampant problem of illegal immigration as a type of cover to track and spy on Americans in violation of our Fourth Amendment rights. Of course they are. 3 years ago, the center revealed that nearly half of all U.S. adults are already in the FBI's facial recognition database, which is largely sourced from DMV photos. Turns out the conspiracy theorists of 30, 40 years ago were right about the driver's license and how it would be used. So ICE's requested special access to Department of Motor Vehicles databases in at least 3 states: Utah, Washington State, and Vermont. And then it will spread to other states. So the surveillance state is yet another example of how we do live under Gestapo already. Now we can continue over here to this one on blacklisted, and their source is Yahoo News, by the way. FBI document warns conspiracy theories are a new domestic terrorism threat. And, of course, the reason that is, a lot of times the conspiracy theorists end up being right, and a lot of the conspiracy theories include activities of the FBI. So it's only logical for them to make this move, since more and more people are beginning to rely on alternative news sources and information, or people the government would label as conspiracy theorists. But for the first time, the FBI has identified fringe conspiracy theories as a domestic terrorist threat. And this comes from a previously unpublicized document which was obtained by Yahoo News. The FBI intelligence bulletin from the Bureau's Phoenix Field Office, dated May 30th, 2019, describes conspiracy theory-driven domestic extremists as a growing threat, and notes that it is the first time such a report would do so. It lists a number of arrests, including some that haven't been publicized, related to violent incidents motivated by fringe beliefs. The document specifically mentions QAnon, a shadowy network that believes in a deep state conspiracy against President Trump. Let me stop right there. It's not a deep state conspiracy against President Trump. It rather is a deep space conspiracy against us all. So I thought I'd have to throw that in there. The document, I'm going to go ahead and repeat this. The document specifically mentions QAnon, a shadowy network that believes in a deep state conspiracy against President Trump, and Pizzagate, the theory that a pedophile ring, including Clinton associates, was being run out of the basement of a Washington, D.C. pizza restaurant. They go on, in parentheses, say that it didn't actually have a basement. Now, let me stop right there. Pizzagate was true. That stuff did happen. Whether or not they had a basement is not really the point. The point is, Jeffrey Epstein, a Clinton associate, by the way, a Trump associate, by the way, whether Donald Trump wants to admit it or not, or the Clintons want to admit it, he is one of their associates, and he was involved with a sex slave operation. And I wouldn't think that it's too far out of the realm of possibilities that some of Jeffrey Epstein's clientele liked younger children. So there's that. It looks like the conspiracy theorists were right about all those people, once again. The FBI assesses these conspiracy theories very likely will emerge, spread, and evolve into the modern information marketplace, occasionally driving both groups and individual extremists to carry out criminal or violent acts, the document states. It also goes on to say the FBI believes conspiracy theory-driven extremists are likely to increase during the 2020 presidential election cycle. And they're I wonder why. I wonder why. Could it be we don't actually have real elections? It's a bread and circus? Could it be? I don't know. But nonetheless, them trying to close communication about their activities among other agencies is what a Gestapo would do. Can you disagree with that? Anyway, I thought I would show you this stuff here. I'm sure I could open a few more tabs and find a good bit more stuff that shows just how far into this totalitarianism we really are. And no one's lifted a finger. No militias, no citizens, nobody. We've had a lot of people talk and talk and talk and talk, but who's actually done anything? Just saying. Myself included, by the way. I'm not outside that comment either. And it's very sad because, our grandchildren, our children, they're never going to know what it's like to have the freedom we had as children, even though it was limited at that time too. They have a lot less freedom now. And that's sad. It really is. It's sad that nobody cares that our cuffs are getting tighter and our shackles are getting shorter. It really does. Nobody cares. And the people who do care and recognize it, they're against impossible odds, because getting people to do anything, to act, to think outside the box is very difficult. It really is. So I hope everyone has a great Friday afternoon and evening. If I find something else to talk about, I'll talk about it. Till next time, kill the state, live free.